when you're talking about Lakota Star knowledge, I'm talking about long time ago. I'm talking about even before the days of teepees. This time period, there were no ceremonies because we didn't need them. Our ancestors were very healthy people, and they didn't need ceremonies. So there was no reason to have, what do you call it, um, ceremonies, and whatever else that goes along with it. There was no need for it, so we didn't have it back then. And again, it was not necessary. And what I said, how we live our lives. This is what's most important, and we don't need to be relying on anything that keeps us away from those sacred centers. Yeah, I mean our sacred center. We shouldn't rely on anything that keeps us away from that. And unfortunately, many people in this world don't see that. They use ceremonies in a way to separate themselves from one another. And that was not the purpose for them. So it's like they're using their ceremonies to as part of their skin color. They're focusing too much away from their sacred center. And so you end up with a lot of silly situations. Just like with any other religion, we have sun dancers who, when the sun dance time comes in the summertime, suddenly they get holier than thou. They act all traditional, and they start it's like they it's like they're getting ready to go on a pilgrimage, and so they get all just really nationalistic, I guess, best word I can think of. And that all of a sudden they're helping each other out, and they all put on a big show of it too. Yeah, they want people to see them helping others out. They won't do anything until there's a crowd of people, and then they put on their show. That they're, look at me, I'm helping all these old people. Look at me, I'm doing all this. Look at me. And if there's nobody around, they won't do anything. Yeah, and meanwhile, the rest of the year, they're getting drunk. They're sending naked pictures of themselves to girls on their smartphones. They're asking Indian girls to send naked pictures of themselves to them, and they're like, oh, look at her ass, you got the best ass. Look at your tits, you got the perkiest tits, things like this. And this is the way they talk most of the year. And then when Sundance time comes, all of a sudden they're holier than thou. You see what I mean? It to me, that's saying they don't really understand these ceremonies. They don't really believe in them. Throughout the year, they get into a fight with their girlfriend. They beat her up, and they say, "You shut the fuck up. I'll fuck whoever I want to fuck, and you just stay the fuck out of the way. And beats her black and blue. Then Sundance time comes. All of a sudden, he's holier than thou. A lot of Sundancers are this way. And to me, that saying, geez, it's breaking a lot of Lakota concepts. Number one, it's violating the sanctity of women. You know, beating one woman while, you know, lusting after another woman. That shows that he doesn't respect women. But then when Sundance time comes, all of a sudden he's holier than thou, and you know, walks around all proud. You know, after the Sundance is over, he shows his scars where he's pierced, as if he won a gold medal for bullshitting in the Res Olympics. You know what I mean? This is absolutely ridiculous. This is so far away from the sacred center that it's not even funny. And this is how a lot of people are in the Indian world. When they do their ceremonies, they're all of a sudden they're holier than thou, whether they're sun dancing or shaking gourds or doing whatever. You know, when that ceremony comes, they act all holier than thou and you know, go into a zone. But then the rest, 99% of their life, they're abusing women. Yeah, they're neglecting children. They're forcing old people to give them money. That's what happens in the Indian world. I knew a guy in Dupree who died just recently, and this guy, you know, he was. You read his obituary, it makes him look like a really good guy. Yeah, he went to school here and there and set all these records in basketball that are still standing. And they talk about how some family really supported him through his semi-professional basketball career and how wonderful he was. Yeah. And I talked about, you know, he met this girl, Indian girl from Oklahoma at a college in California. And she had 2 daughters for him. And that one daughter died of leukemia when that girl was 10 years old. And how he was devastated from that for all his life. And then, you know, without explanation, suddenly he's marrying this other woman from Rosebud, and they have kids. Then at the end of his life, he was living with another woman, and really made him look like a good guy. Yeah? That's the thing about when people die; they always, you know, create whoever it is, like the guy was Jesus' best friend. But I know this guy. I know him personally. You know, the first woman he was married to. You know why he married a second time? Because he kept beating up the first wife. When she would try to take off, he would go hunt her down and beat her up some more, so she was scared to leave. It was like a movie. Her escape was like a movie, where she was able to, you know, get. I think some of his brothers turned on him, and you know, was able to create a distraction while they got her out of there and sent her back to Oklahoma. She was a different tribe. This lady constantly was black and blue. She wore just really thick makeup, but even through that makeup, you could see the bruises on her face. He drinks all the time. Always gets drunk. Yeah. Then he meets this lady from Rosebud, does the same thing. Comes back to Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, and then he starts doing the Sundance. You know, during that week, he acts like he's Jesus Christ. As soon as that week is over, he's walking the streets of Dupree, drunk out of his mind, hollering around, broad daylight. He's hollering around, woo! All right, you fucking white people, I'll take all of you on. Come on out here, I'll kick all your asses. Fucking white people be hollering down the street like that. Just one day after the Sundance is over, he's already doing that. And then he was going around with a cousin of mine, and then he kept beating her up. So she left him next. This guy is a woman beater. Yeah? You would think that after losing his daughter to leukemia, that he would have shaped up. There's a little girl. And I talked to this little girl. That was one of the saddest experiences I ever had in my life. To see how a little girl had accepted she was going to die. That was sad to encounter. And where was he? He's in the same town, but he wasn't with her. He's getting drunk, beating up whatever woman he was with while his girl was suffering. He could have been there by her side, but he chose not to. This was a Sundancer. You hear a lot of these kind of stories on the reservation. When that ceremony time comes, they act all holier than thou, and then as soon as that ceremony is over, they're back to oppressing other people, stealing from other people. There's council people that do this, and then when the Sundance season, when it's over, they go back to their jobs where they continue to act in corruption. How can you be a Sundancer and at the same time know that you're keeping the people poor? Yeah, the tribal council and their families represent about 10% of the population, and they're the only ones on the reservation with money. Everybody else is living in poverty. 90% of the population is living in poverty, third world conditions. And then at Sundance season comes, they go in Sundance. When the Sundance is over, they go back to keeping 90% of the people poor. You see what I mean? They don't really believe in that ceremony. They're using that ceremony as if it were a religion. Yeah? It's just the same thing that Christians do. They go to church on Sunday or have Mass on Saturday. And then the rest of the week they're judging everybody who's not like them as being sinners. bad people. Stay away from us. We're God's people. You stay away from us. You see what I mean? Indians are doing the same thing with the ceremonies. The same thing. And all this shows to me that this is what happens when you do not communicate from your sacred center. What's important is you and the way you live your life. And that you establish yourself at your sacred center so that you communicate from there. This way, you see all people as brothers and sisters, regardless of where they come from. That's what I'm telling you. So I say this to you so that you understand, especially those of you in Europe, and you have no idea what it's like on a reservation, that the way people are on the reservation is just like anywhere else. There's nothing unique about it. You know, we people do ceremonies, and then the rest of the time they're being alcoholic, they're abusing women, neglecting children, molesting women and children, molesting each other when they pass out from getting too drunk. That happens too. Even this little tiny small town that I grew up in, not even 500 people. There was this. This was a true story where these guys were getting drunk, and there was no girl around, so they waited for the first couple of guys to pass out, and then they start having anal sex with those guys. And they were all drunk. And I try to talk to them about it when they're sober. And no, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Yeah, it did. and that's the depravity that happens. And as soon as there's a sweat lodge started, they head over there, act holier than thou. Then the next night, they're off, butt fucking each other again. Yeah, or abusing women. There's very few Lakota people that actually are humble during those ceremonies and throughout their lives. There's just very few. But most everybody, they use those ceremonies like a religion. It has become a religion. And then people will, when you go to ceremonies today, you hear people say, Tongashila, please keep the bad spirits away from me, or please help me so that the bad spirits won't be influencing me to get my best friend, or to get my the guy's drunk, and then I assault him anally, and then they say it in English. It's just ridiculous. That's the kind of thing that happens when you communicate from the color of your skin. It doesn't get you anywhere. You end up going in circles, and you don't even know it. So that's why I think what's more important is your life. Yeah? Your life, treating your life as a ceremony. That your healing is inside of you. You don't need somebody else to give it to you. Somebody may help you find it, but you actually have to do the work. But it's already there. It's just that we encounter things in our lives sometimes. And sometimes they're kind of traumatic, and then we develop, personality disorders because of that, or emotional disorder because of that, and we have to somehow get out of that. Yeah, we have to heal from that, and we can. It is possible. There's just some other things I wanted to say about that. Now, some other what? Speaking of talking, gee, not that bad. All kinds of sentences want to come out at the same time. I'm possessed by myself. Shoot, I'm possessed by myself. Oh man. Um, Wherever you go, there's going to be good people and bad people. I just explained to you in the Indian world with this little discussion about sun dancers. I just explained to you and proved to you that not all Indians are good people. Wherever you go, you're going to find good and bad. Yeah, wherever you go, and you're going to find people of peace. You have to apply that concept to every group that you meet, every identity or whatever. You have to a cultural identity or group identity. You're going to find good and bad people.